Okay, here we go. Let me turn the. And
Why, we already have that.
we're good. Okay, here we go. We'll call this Committee of the Whole meeting to order on August 27th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, this evening we do have one individual like to speak under public participation, Tammy Bunner. And she's going to speak to the council about a Touch a Truck event. Tammy?
Hi, my name's Tammy Bonner. Thank you for letting me speak. I am asking, or I'm working on in the early stages of a Touch a Truck event. It's very popular.
Hey, Tammy. Hey, Tammy. The microphones won't be able to pick you up if you're in the back of the room.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're okay. We just want to make sure we can hear you.
Touch a Truck is a community event that will help honor. I'll sit down then.
I didn't get one, but that's okay.
It will honor our firemen, our policemen, our paramedics, and truckers in general. What happens at the event is we get 10 to 20 trucks located in one location, and it's open to the community, especially the kids. It's free, and they can come and they get to touch the trucks. They get to climb in the trucks if it's okay with the owners. That type of thing. We're aiming to do this October 12th, pending city council approval. We'd like to do it around the courthouse square, and I gave you a map of what our ideas look like of how it will be situated. We will have our fire trucks, our police trucks, ambulance, cement truck, mail truck, snow plow, tow truck, Ameren truck, you get the idea. Okay, and it's free. I'm just in the beginning stages of planning it. It's myself and Heather Martin that are heading this up. We're reaching out to some organizations to help get sponsorship, and we would appreciate backing from the city council as well. Thank you.
Tammy, it's not on the flyer, but are the times that you're asking for?
It'll be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then 9 to 10 is what they call sensory free, no lights, no sirens. So if kids are sensitive to the noise and stuff, they come early.
Alderman Parrott and then Alderman Downs.
Peggy, would we need to have insurance somehow for something like this, if kids would fall or?
You'd have to provide liability
Right.
certificate to the city.
Yeah, so Ashley shared with me I have to stop by and see Peggy. So, yeah.
Alderman Downs.
I assume you're going to close the streets or ask for the street closure?
Yeah, that's the request you'll see in September.
Other questions? Ms. McClellan?
Have you thought about doing it around the park at all, where there's shade and grass for the kids to play on and things like that?
We were aiming to do it around the courthouse because, frankly, you are used to having those streets blocked off, and this is the first time we've done this. So that's why we were aiming for those streets.
Just, I was just thinking if there's shade and grassy areas
Right.
and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it would probably be too difficult to shift it a block over either way, probably, but.
True.
Mr. Eimer?
Well, we got downtown businesses that seem to complain about things being blocked off. I'm like Ms. McClellan. I think around the park would probably be a little bit better, but my concern is the food businesses like the arcade and all that, that's their busy time. It's not a good time for them. So, or Sherman-Williams or coffee shop, a lot of them. So this is something that we need to think about.
Sure.
So would it be an issue to go around one of the parks?
No, from what I've looked at, we need 4 sides because the bigger trucks, like the fire trucks, need their own space. But I don't see any reason why it can't be around the park.
Maybe we could consider the park down here with some playground equipment, or either one, I guess, and,
Latham's the one with the bandstand and the other park.
right.
Yeah, their county, you'd have to get, well, if the roads themselves shouldn't be a problem to block off, but if you want to do activities in the park itself, the county would have to approve a
Okay.
request for that.
Okay.
Statement.
I just question, like on Latham Park, the only issue if the church has a funeral or something. I
Okay.
mean, they can't change that.
Right.
If they have a funeral going on during that time.
Well,
So this park down here would probably be a better solution.
The one with the fountain, Scully Park,
Yeah,
probably would be better because it's also not a state route that runs next to it.
okay.
And Latham does have a state route. Mr. Bateman.
One of my suggestions would be, when you if you reach out to the people that are bringing the trucks and you know what size trucks you need, you may be able to do the entire thing on Broadway, because Broadway is 80 feet wide.
Okay.
So, a police car is I know you need area around the vehicle for them to walk, but I'm just getting at if you end up with only a dozen vehicles.
Right.
There would be no reason to close the entire square. And if you just closed Broadway because of the width, then you could have cars on both sides and maybe or trucks on both sides, maybe the fire trucks down the middle, and still have plenty of room to walk around.
Alderman Eimer and then Alderwoman McClellan.
Now, I still think that's kind of maybe an iffy or bad idea because we got restaurants there, and we're messing with that again. I mean, there shouldn't be no big deal around that park down there, kind of off the square, and it's to me it's a good area. Blocking those roads off is not a big deal, but you start getting around this square, we already block off enough, and we're messing with store owners. You guys do what you want, but I think, in my opinion, I would favor the park down there. It sounds like a great idea.
Alderwoman McClellan, then Alderman Downs.
I did just have a conversation last week with a downtown business owner who, about this very subject, about how often the streets are blocked off, and, they're trying to do business and once a month, or, everybody, you want to be part of the plan to draw people into the city, but you have to kind of balance that with, how about the small businesses that are trying to survive too? So there's that balance there, so.
Alderman Downs.
Ms. Bunner, how many people are you expecting to attend your event?
That I don't know.
But you are going to be bringing a handful. You're going to be bringing people downtown to the businesses, is what I'm getting at. Like, this could, when we do these downtown festivals, we oftentimes bring in an abundance of people to the doorsteps of these businesses. So this could be beneficial for the businesses. Secondly, if you do want this square, and I'm not trying to sway you one way or another, I'm not looking to argue with anybody, but if you also want the square and you're concerned it might impact the businesses, most businesses on the square close at like noon on Saturday. This is a Saturday, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think it's just the coffee shop that's open afternoon on the square, correct? Sherman-Williams? Yeah.
Sorrento's is
Hallmark
not
is,
open.
and-
If you did Broadway, Sorrento's is not open. The only restaurant you're impacting is Flossie's. Flossie's would be a great food provider. They
The
do
Hallmark shop.
Third Friday and stuff.
Hallmark.
And,
Yeah.
and Hallmark would probably benefit greatly by that because they got if they have enough time to plan, they got that kind of stuff that they could sell.
Sure.
So
So all I'm saying is you could adjust the hours of the event too, potentially. I mean, that would be up to you, but
Okay.
you could navigate the businesses that way.
Alderwoman Rolfs.
Well, and there are 2 ways to look at it. One, as Craig has said, another is that we have not necessarily always been children-friendly. The Third Friday events have helped that. but I think bringing the kids down with their parents is not a bad idea, because I think we need to make sure that our kids feel comfortable in the downtown area also. And I'm not sure how many businesses are actually closed. I know Hallmark's open, Cherished Memories is open, Serenity's is open. Are you open on Saturday, or are you closed? So there are quite a few stores that are open. To me, it would be a good idea if the parents then maybe looked at what would be good for children that we have in our store that we can kind of capitalize on that particular day too. So there's two ways to look at it, and I guess we really wouldn't know unless we talk to the business owners.
True.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate your support and your comments.
Okay, I
Thank you.
guess I have a follow-up then.
Ms. Rolfs?
Are we going to move this to the agenda next week as being,
She hasn't made an official request yet.
Yeah. I have to do the paperwork. I have to talk to Peggy and bring
Okay.
all that in first.
well, that might be something to check with and with some of the business owners to see what they would feel
Okay.
like.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to ask, because you and Mr. Bateman represent the ward. I know Ms. McClellan has a relationship to a business down there as well, so give us time to do our homework too. Ms. Bateman?
Have you already talked to the people with all the vehicles?
No. So I have just started reaching out to different organizations, figuring out who I need to talk to, where I need to get started. We have a list of people. That's why I'm here now, is to put this in front of you so you're aware of it, because I will start going out now and talking to people and getting commitments.
Mr. Bateman?
I would contact Barrick Trucking. John Barrick's very good at restoring a bunch of old, bigger trucks.
I have him
Probably
on my
got-
list.
Okay, there you go. So, those kind of things.
So you'll bring it back to us when you have everything?
Yep.
Chief Meister?
First off, thank you for bringing this to the community. I can tell you that Lincoln PD will be more than happy to participate in this, and this is also something that's a great opportunity to use our DARE officers and equipment for, and we oftentimes provide children-friendly play equipment like bounce houses and things like that at events such as these. My personal opinion, I do agree with some of the aldermen that spoke about maybe changing it to a park, especially Scully Park, since it's off of a state route. I think there'll be a lot of room down there, and we would also need a place to set up the DARE equipment. We're doing another event like this coming in September that I was gonna announce tonight, and we'd love to help you with this one.
Mr. Landers?
Another location you might consider is the Municipal Services Building. We have a parking lot that's large enough, I think, to accommodate everything at that location, and it wouldn't impact anybody. Something to consider.
Chief Johnson, anything to add?
No, we'll be more than happy to help out as well.
All right.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
I appreciate all the comments. Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, moving on to, let me give you that. We'll move on to item number 4, request a permit, Lincoln Community High School football boosters request homecoming, decorating and whitewashing Wyatt Avenue from South Kickapoo to LCHS with a barricade at each intersection. Place it on the consent agenda, right? Yeah.
Paul doesn't have any questions, does he?
Mr. Landers and Mr. Bateman.
Yeah, I mean, we did this last year. We tried to make Decatur Street a detour while they had the routes closed down. So I think that's feasible. The one thing that I will comment on, some problems we've had in the past. Of course, we planted a ton of new trees along the boulevards a few years ago. So we asked that they wouldn't put any decorations on the trees, young trees. This year, I'm going to contact and request that they don't put anything on the light poles, because they tend to decorate the light poles and they tend not to get all the decorations off of them, because they spend the time to put the stuff up, but then when they take stuff down, they don't bring their ladders with them or whatever, and then there's still a lot of stuff left around the top of the pole. So just so you're aware, I'll be making that request, that they don't put anything on the lamp poles.
Mr. Bateman?
Didn't we stagger? I thought Joe suggested this last year. Didn't we stagger the intersection closing? Like they started at South Kickapoo and you closed 2 streets, and then they moved down a little bit, moved down a little bit? Or am I just dreaming that?
I don't
I don't
remember
recall
that
that one.
suggestion. It's not impossible, but
Mr. Landers?
they have come from Superintendent Landers.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's been a few hours ago, but I believe we had the traffic coming from the high school detoured to Ladue down Decatur Street, and then that left the whole southbound lane or westbound, whatever you call it, because the street doesn't run true, but the lane going toward the high school was the lanes that were closed down. And we used, if any traffic was coming from the rec or from Friendship Manor or the high school, we detoured them to Ladue, which is the first street to the right, and then on to Decatur Street, and then on up to Kickapoo Street from there. I believe that's the way we did it.
Okay. So place this on the consent agenda? Okay. We'll place that one on the consent. We also have another request a permit that came in late, so it's not in your packet. But this is for the National Rail Splitting Contest and Tomahawk Throwing. It is September 21st and the 22nd. And the roads to be requested are 6th Street from South Madison to South Monroe, South Madison from 5th to 6th, and South Monroe from 5th to 6th. We also request 6 picnic tables. The closure would go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so it's around the Postville Courthouse. Any comments or concerns with this request? Place it on the consent agenda as well? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item up is item number 5, Economic Development Commission grant approval for High Tide Investments LLC at 1230 5th Street, floor joist replacement and exterior door replacement in an amount of $7,500. And Bill Bree, 429 Pulaski Street, window replacement in an amount of $7,500. Place it on the regular agenda? Okay, we'll place item number 5 on the regular agenda.
Be separate.
Yes, they'll be separate items. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, the next item is item number 6, ordinance authorizing the sale of excess personal property. Mr. Hobla, is this your ordinance?
Yes, but it's not my personal property. This is a standard ordinance that you guys have seen at various forms over the past. Typically on a yearly basis, we've been moving to sell excess personal property that the city has, and this is the yearly ordinance for us to dispose of said unnecessary equipment. So it's been brought forth for you to see as to whether or not you guys would like to move forward with that.
Questions? Place it on the regular agenda? Okay, item number 6 we'll place on the regular agenda. Next item is item number 7, demolition of 516 5th Street. Mr. Woodhull.
Thank you. So once again, this is a house that we've been targeting for some time now. We would like to do away with it, basically. The numbers are there. We bid it out publicly as always, and came in favorably, of course, which is good. Local contractor, and it's definitely time for this particular property to not be the eyesore that it is. So that's what we're requesting.
Mr. Bateman.
I drive by it twice a day. This is not soon enough coming. It is terrible looking on the main thoroughfare coming in. There's a couple on 5th Street.
I was gonna say, there's one down further, I
Got
think it's
holes
even
in the
worse.
roofs and stuff, yeah.
Alderwoman O'Donohue.
Is this another property that we don't own that somebody else?
Actually, we do own this one now.
This one.
Yes.
Other questions?
Once
Ms. Rolfs.
Once we do that, then do we put that up for sale? Is there a plan past demolishing it?
Typically, the next step is to place the property out for bid. unless, of course, we go to another organization such as Habitat. Well, we still have to go out for bid, but we try to get those in the hands of Habitat, tiny home projects, those projects that'll build new structures on them. But they'll still have to go through a bid process. Mr. Hoblet and then Mr. Bateman. Okay, Mr. Bateman. I saw a hand go up. I don't know.
That being said, did we specify in this bid, not to just fill in the crawl space so that someone can then build on that lot? Are we taking the brick and everything out?
No, the demo specs are to take out everything that's not flammable, and then the top 1.5 feet or so is buildable dirt. Now, at this point, we can do that. In the way the ordinance or the way the code is written, if there's not a plan to build immediately within, I think it's 30 or 60 days, then that's the allowable way to do it.
Well, I just know the hiccups we have with A Street and other properties where we have basically pushed the foundation in and buried it. Even the lot next door here. I'm just thinking if this is in a residential neighborhood, even if it costs the city a little bit more money, if we take out everything and make it a dirt lot, then if someone wants to actually build, they're not coming across the same construction constraints that we have on 8th Street and the lot next door where piping and you're just digging bricks all day long.
Sure. Well, and in this case, in the residential case, the only thing that would be left would be the sewer, other than the foundation, like you're speaking of. And yeah, and absolutely, I wouldn't. I mean, the majority of the cost is going to be weight, tonnage, but that's absolutely something we can do. And a lot of the properties, not unfortunately, but they end up getting bought by a neighbor who fences in their yard.
Can you between now and the voting meeting next week, can you ask the contractor that the bid came in what the extra fee would be to completely mitigate that property?
Yeah, and I don't know that that'll be extreme. It'll be the weight, but we don't know that weight until it's because the city actually pays the tonnage fees later or after the demo is done. So I'll talk to him about the actual material or labor material cost to get it hauled out.
Because I just think for Habitat and stuff, it would make it a much more appealing.
It's much cleaner, of course.
Much appealing lot to build on. Someone may bite it and just make it a yard, but the goal is to put a structure on there that brings in more property taxes. It would be more appealing if it was contract ready.
Mr. Eimer.
I agree with Mr. Bateman on this one. That's what it's putting the brick foundation in and just burying it. That's just the wrong thing to do. So if we can get rid of it and make it accessible to new construction easier, that's the way we need to go.
And also on that, a lot of them don't have basements. A lot of them are on slabs. Some of them are on slabs.
Is this on crawl space?
What's that?
Is
This
this on
one,
the
I
crawl
believe, is on the basement. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get into it.
Yeah,
And I can double check that, but obviously a short crawl would be less obtrusive. A lot of times if it is a basement, they're filled with trash anyways. So we're already digging in there and.
I just think we need to get in the habit of just doing it. One and done is what I.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, place this on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Place item number 7 on the regular agenda. Next item up is item number 8, supplemental engineering agreement for additional services for Fifth Street Road project. Walt, did you want you or Bryce to speak to this?
I'll start anyways.
Okay.
So the previous supplement agreement for the engineering for Fifth Street for the redesign did not cover some of these items that we have listed here on the memo, and we're asking that they approve the amount there for $49,500 so we can continue to push forward on this and get this work done. They're listed out in the memo. If you have the memo in front of you, that's pretty lengthy. It's a pretty lengthy list. So,
Bryce, did you have anything to add for this one?
No, unless anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Any questions for Mr. Landers or Mr. Beckstrom? Mr. Landers?
Yes, I'll introduce Bryce. Bryce Breckstrom from Hanson Professional Services has been the engineer we've been working with on this project, and that's the gentleman speaking.
Okay. If there's no questions, we'll place this on the regular agenda. Okay. Thank you for dialing in, Bryce. Okay, next item up is item number 9, appointment of Ron Keller to the Historic Preservation Commission. I'll take this one. We've had a number of terms expire on historic preservation, and Mr. Keller has had a desire to serve on this commission for a while. So when there were some vacancies, I reached out. He is interested in serving. So I'd like to request the appointment of Ron to Historic Preservation. Are there any concerns? Okay, places. Mr. Downs.
I don't have a concern. I was just gonna say, whenever I think of historic preservation, Ron Keller is the first person I think of.
Mhm.
Like, hands
History
down,
in general.
he's the best person for that job.
Yeah, I agree. He'll do very well on that commission. Okay, so we'll place item number 9 on the regular agenda then. Okay, the next item up is item number 10, Mayoral Proclamation 2024-497, National Suicide Prevention and Action Month. I was presented with this request from Misty Bell. She's joining us on the Zoom call this evening. Misty is a resident of Lincoln. I think she lives near Pontiac right now, but she still comes to Lincoln. She works in Lincoln. Her family roots are in Lincoln, and this is a topic that's very near and dear to her. So, Misty, do you want to introduce yourself and then share some thoughts on this proclamation?
Yes, I spent a ton of time working for Logan County and being involved. My parents still live in Lincoln. My dad was Dan Tackett with the Lincoln Courier. Everyone usually knows him. This year's the 10-year anniversary of losing my 16-year-old son to suicide. And so on my per se bucket list is to get this proclamation in front of cities that my son spent a lot of time in during his years. And cities I'm connected with. Pontiac did the resolution this last week, and we're taking it to Mason City as well. Hope for the Day is a local to our state organization that was founded in 2011, and 100% of their proceeds go to suicide prevention and mental health education. They also have a Sip of Hope coffee shop in Logan Square in Chicago that 100% of the proceeds there also go towards those things, and that coffee shop is ran by mental health educators and people who have been touched by suicide. I think every one of us have been touched by suicide in one way or another. It does not discriminate, and I just appreciate your community taking this pledge. I've known Tracy for many years, and he knew my son as well, and I just think that this is super important, not just for this year, but maybe to keep it every year so that we are very vocal about it from the top down.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Bell? Okay, so for the record, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. If you have not had an opportunity to do so, it reads, Proclamation 2024-497, National Suicide Prevention and Action Month. Whereas with September being recognized as Suicide Awareness Month, the National Suicide Prevention and Action Month proclamation was created to raise the visibility of mental health and proactive suicide prevention resources in our community. We also want to start the conversation, destigmatize it, and help connect people with the appropriate support services. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, more than 49,000 people die by suicide annually in the United States. And whereas, according to Hope for the Day, with an average of 132 suicides completed daily, and each one directly impacting 100 additional people, including friends, service members, families, social media connections, and neighbors, we can safely assume everyone has been impacted by suicide. Whereas Lincoln, Illinois publicly places its full support behind those who work in the field of mental health, education, and law enforcement. And whereas global organizations like Hope for the Day and our local mental health partners serve on the front lines of a war that many refuse to discuss due to the stigma. And whereas we encourage all residents to take time to understand mental health through education and recognize that we need to take care of our mental health while we take care of each other. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tracy L. Welch, Mayor of the City of Lincoln, Illinois, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in the City of Lincoln, and call this month to the attention of all citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to us, Missy, and we appreciate everything that you've done to advocate for this.
Thank you. My son's name was Jacob Bowerstock, and he's been gone for 10 years, so I appreciate you.
Council okay placing this on the regular agenda? Okay. All right. Thank you, Misty.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item up is item number 11, Memorial Park Drive project. Mr. Bounds.
So yes, I think all of you are aware of the east side of Memorial Park Drive and the severe drop-off that we have over there. So this ditch is very hard for residents to maintain, whether that be mowing or weed eating. Mr. Landers and I have met with several residents out there about addressing this issue. The way we would address this is much like Harrison Street, where we would bury pipe to handle the flow coming down and just getting rid of or trying to taper the slope as much as we can to make it more manageable, yet still handle the storm water that comes down that conveyance mechanism. The ask for you guys tonight would be to approve the budgeted amount of $75,000 from the line item in the memo. In the memo, you can also, for some point of reference, see that the ditch we're talking about on the right, the primary expenditure would be in this. The quote that is attached to this memo, it would be, the line item off that quote would be for the 36-inch socked pipe at 55 feet. And the whole project would look at a maximum value of right around 800 feet. We would be looking to add roughly 3 to 4 structures down this for maintenance purposes moving forward. We also have to replace the culvert that crosses the road. The 48-inch oblong culvert that crosses east to west is in just as bad a shape as the culvert that we replaced out on Northgate Drive not too long ago. That's a real general overview of the project, and I'd love to try to answer some questions if you guys have them.
Alderman Parrott?
So you said the cost $75,000?
Yes.
Is that for engineering or is that for the whole project?
That's for the whole project. We're doing it in-house.
Thank you.
Mr. Reimer and then Mrs. Rolfs.
When you say in-house, is that the sewage plant people, the street department, together?
Yeah. Andrew, do you want to answer that question? I don't want to misquote.
Alderman Eimer, this would be a joint project between both streets and alleys and the sewer department.
When did you want to start this?
So the reason this is being brought forward to you guys right now is to mitigate the cost increase we are expecting for this particular pipe to go up relatively soon. And we're looking at $40,000 in expense on that. We don't know what the increase we're looking at, but we do know the polymers that go into the production of this pipe are going to see an increase rather soon.
Is this out of joint funding or sewer funding or?
This would be funded entirely out of the sewer line item as of right now.
I assume we have that then?
Yes.
Yes, this was a budgeted amount that was discussed with the budget committee at the beginning of the fiscal year or prior to the start of this fiscal year.
Yeah, I used to mow those ditches. They're kind of rough, some of them.
Yeah.
One on Fifth Street.
Yes, sir. One
on Fifth Street, I tipped over in.
Very steep. Ms. Rolfs.
Does this have any connection with or impact on the Fifth Street Road project?
So we have coordinated with the Fifth Street Road Design team on the inverts that we will need to meet towards the end when it approaches Fifth Street.
I don't think when they set out to design the Fifth Street project, they were considering this, but because this water will drain towards Fifth Street, that's why they're engaging the project.
Thank you.
Mr. Downs.
So I was going to raise my hand, and then Craig kind of answered or asked some of my questions that I was going to. But no, thank you, though. I was just going to say this project is very long overdue. Just this week, I've received numerous calls from on this subject. And then historically, on my time as council, I've probably been called on this topic more than anything else. It's just like a repeat thing, whether it be the steepness of the ditches, mosquitoes that live in the standing water, but it's just been a major problem. So to anyone who called out who called me over the week, just know that I'm in support, and I'm sure the rest of us all are too.
Yeah, and I like to thank Mr. Landers and his department as well, and Mr. Bounds. This is like the second project we've done out in that area to address drainage. The last one was Westminster, behind Westminster, and we solved a major problem with that one through that project. It was relatively inexpensive, and those residents in that area have been asking for help with these situations for many years. So kudos to you guys in your departments. Mr. Landers.
Just one thing I would like to say is this was probably only the first phase of something out there along Memorial Park Road. In the future, we'll have to address it further down upstream to make it more compatible and easier for people along there to maintain their yards and things. So we'll come forward with that at a later date.
Any other questions for this item? Place this on the regular agenda? Okay, we'll place item number 11 on the regular agenda. Okay, next item is item number 12, discussion on moving to quiet title on ground owned by the city of Lincoln for solar farm expansion. Mr. Hoblet.
All right, so I sent an email out in regards to this last week. This is a triangular piece of property that I believe is out there by Andrews Sewer area. As you guys recall, we've installed solar panels in the past out and around there. I believe they're looking to install additional solar panels. Part of the grant, they're going to be applying for a grant for this, and part of the grant is that they have to, for I believe where they're going to be putting those on there. And Andrew, please jump in if I need to be corrected at any point in time. When they need to be put on there, they need to provide proof. You know, even though we do own the ground, they have to provide some sort of deed that shows that. Well, with that area out there is a bit of a mess. Historically, it always kind of has been. If you guys recollect, we had various issues when trying to ascertain ownership of a road out there a while ago. To this extent, we are now kind of looking at this little piece of property. There is some suspicion that this was in multiple deeds in the past. There was some faulty survey work done. There was allegedly, it could have been part of this bigger deed, that included a very big area of land. It's just that we've had two title companies that have tried to acquire a deed, and they just cannot. So the other option that's before us would be a petition to quiet title. And that would, in essence, would say that here's a court order from a judge saying that that area of land that you do own, you do in fact own it. Here you go. And then you have that respective piece of paper that they can use. Now, this is a grant for that solar company. So the city doesn't really derive any type of benefit to doing this, because the people who will be benefiting from it is, again, the solar company. So the solar company, as I understand it, is looking to pay for the attorney to, at no expense to the city, to move to quiet title. And this is coming before the council because I didn't want to just agree to something like this without our council input, or even if they want to. I would presume that if we do not approve it, then we would just tell them that they can't get their grant, I guess. I don't know at this point. This is a grant that they are trying to acquire. So I I'll leave it for the discussion of the council, and Andrew can jump in and correct me if I misconstrued any of the statements. But I believe, again, the gist of it is to try to get at least some sort of piece of paper, that says that we do own that. And since we can't procure a deed, this is the other option.
Attorney Hoblet is correct in everything he said here. It is just polishing up ownership of a very small piece of land that ownership is not able to be ascertained. We do own the property, we just don't have a deed that says it, nor does anyone else, as referenced by Mr. Hoblet talking to the two title companies about this. So this will start the process of polishing up ownership for us. This is a piece of property used to access the existing solar field that will also be the access to the continuation of the community solar that will be expanded. I shouldn't say will be, it's still undergoing review with Ameren, as we discussed a few weeks ago. I do not have any updates on the review or how it's going with Ameren. I do know that data requests have been going back and forth between Keystone Power Holdings and Ameren on that issue, but this is nothing more than correcting.
Mr. Bateman.
So yes, it is Keystone Power Holdings. We voted quite a while back on adding solar panels to the existing property that's left out there from what we have. They continually apply for grants and moving forward on that project. They're getting closer with the agreement with Ameren. This does benefit the city because they do pay us lease payments for these properties, and once the solar farm is built, the agreement is they would pay us a lease payment per acre for the property, and the city would benefit by, as you know, we power quite a bit of the sewer plant with what's out there. The new solar part, which is in a floodplain, would power the rest of the city buildings, and then what is left over they would sell on the open market to the public as the citizens can actually opt in for some solar power generated from that. So it is a benefit to the city. It is one of them goofy properties they can't find. Everybody agrees that we own it. We just can't find the piece of paper that says it. So that's the issue there. And obviously the solar farm doesn't want to invest a few $1 million in something without their signed agreement with the city and the city actually hold the deed.
Yeah, I think it's just another item that we've been cleaning up out there with inconsistencies and I don't want to say oversights, but it took us about a year to figure out just ownership of that road out there, which was very contentious. And so this kind of continues on the mission to get that all documented out there properly so that we leave the situation better for future council members than we got it. So, worth doing. Ms. Rolfs.
That brought up a point that somebody asked me not long ago. How many of our city buildings, or much of the city, is utilizing the solar energy?
Currently none.
Well, no.
Well, the sewer plant, but none of
sewer
the other
plant
buildings
is
are.
currently. Once this solar farm on the rest of that 20 acres is built, then that solar section will power the police station, city hall, the municipal building and such. And it will, last time I talked to them, it will generate more than enough power. So then they would have excess power that they could sell. I can't remember the term, municipal solar, where a person can opt in and buy solar power.
I mean, essentially we're generating enough power. There's lease payments involved for the use of our land, but then we're receiving a discount on our Ameren bills for the other buildings. Municipal services, city hall, the police department. Those are the big ones. But yeah, you're right. The sewer plant is receiving the benefits now of the current solar farm.
And this is,
Well, that's a question that's out there.
this is terrible land. I mean, it's, It's a
Yeah.
floodplain, so, you know, there's always question on solar using up perfectly good farmland. This is farmland, but it's far from perfectly good. Mr. Cross farmed it for years for the city. There was a lot of times this year, he couldn't get in the field, too wet, it's like a marsh. So this is what I would call an optimal place to put this kind of development.
Mr. Reimer.
So that's a guarantee that future possibly of getting solar to all our city buildings, has that been seriously talked about?
What?
That's a signed agreement.
Yeah.
Agreement?
Once the solar farm,
Famous lease, yeah.
if the solar farm becomes operational, then that is one of the benefits to the city and its residents.
Sounds like a win situation.
So getting this move to quiet title on this particular property is worth the investment of time and the expense for those reasons. Mr. Hoblet.
So I don't believe this needs to be a voting item. I would just say that, you know, this is kind of being brought forth for your information. I would just bringing forth, so if there's any great big objections, I would note them and take them back. But if you guys are agreeable to this, I'll contact them tomorrow.
I think I would prefer that the council vote on this matter, simply because it involves real estate and property.
Real estate and
And,
property
and
already owned.
it only takes one additional week to get it to a vote. Probably a formality, but it's probably better to cross our T's and dot our I's on this matter. And Mr. Hoblet did mention it in the packet, but we had talked about this, and I asked him to bring this before the council because I wanted the council to weigh in on this. And this has been a good discussion as well. Yeah. Let's put it on the regular agenda. Council, okay? Okay. Okay, we'll place that item on the regular agenda for next week. Okay, that brings us down to announcements. The only one that I have is obviously Balloons Over 66. Huge for the city of Lincoln. We could probably sit here for 30 minutes talking about all the wonderful things that it did for our community, which it did an awful lot. There was a lot of people involved. I don't even want to start naming names because we'll surely forget somebody. But I want to give a huge thanks publicly to the Lincoln Police Department, the Illinois State Police, and the Logan County Sheriff Department. It became very apparent on Saturday evening that we were going to have to get some help out there to direct traffic. I called the chief earlier in the evening, but as the evening progressed, it became just blatantly obvious that we needed our help. So the chief called in some help. Did you want to speak to your actions for that night?
Yeah, I put out an immediate overtime notice for patrol staff to respond to the request for traffic control out there. We took the measures to reroute eastbound traffic up Kickapoo like we used to do in the old days of the Balloon Fest. Back then, we actually did a change of traffic flow and made it all one way northbound on Kickapoo up to the airport. This time, we weren't able to do that, but once we rerouted traffic going to the LCU, the Open Arms, we routed around Airport Road and back to Chapel Hill Road on Route 10. That seemed to alleviate a lot of the problem with folks that were trying to exit out of LCU. That's one of two options for next year. So myself, I think Superintendent Landers and the folks that plan this event, I'd like to get us all together next year if we're going to do the same thing out at the Open Arms Chapel with that many balloons and get a plan hammered out. And I think we have a few options to have a much more successful not the event wasn't successful, but a lot better traffic flow so that the patrons and the attendees aren't frustrated with not being able to get in or out of there.
Yep.
So that's my plan for next year.
There will be debriefs. I'll make sure you're included in them. I know Mr. Bateman will as well. He's on the committee. But overall, 34 balloons, pilots, crews came. Many of them flew on Friday. Saturday, because of the location, Not all of them flew out because it'd be rather difficult to get back in and then get set back up. But overall, I think Lincoln got a pretty good show this weekend, at least from the balloon perspective. I'll let Mr. Bateman talk about what happened downtown because, quite honestly, I didn't make it downtown a lot. I was crewing.
Busy, big crowds. Tried to bring as many food vendors as I could in. Trying, with the space that were awarded and the power needs, but big crowds. Nearly 30 barbecue teams. One of them as far away as Oklahoma. I never get to sit and just watch anything, so I seen, I don't know, a dozen different dogs. So and they travel in also. Hotels were full. I know we checked on Wednesday because we pay for several hotel rooms. The committee does for the people we bring in, and they only had just a handful of rooms left. I'm assuming the softball tournament went off without a hitch. Seen a lot of teams walking around Saturday. So if you got any suggestions on the event, on what you would like to see, just reach out to me because we will actually start meeting here in the next couple weeks for next year's event. So I think it went off pretty good. Weather was good.
Weather
Food
was
vendors
beautiful.
still ran out of food, so obviously we got a lot of hungry people that come to town. So I need to get some more choices and stuff. So
Yep. Okay. That's all I had. Did anybody else have an announcement they'd like to share this evening? Mr. Bateman.
I shared with the fire chief, and I know we had an alderman that set up here a few years back that was always concerned. So I just want to address, yes, there is an emergency plan for that event. Only a handful of people know about it. We had we had to get an ambulance in there and went off without a hitch. So don't think that it's just a bunch of, or just me as the redneck running around not knowing what's going on. We do have a plan, and it usually works. And that, I think that's only the third time we've ever had to get an emergency vehicle into the middle of that event and got the person fixed up and out of there with not much fanfare. So there is a plan if you're concerned. So obviously it works.
Okay. Anybody else? Chief Meister.
Just two quick announcements, kind of going off of what our public speaker had earlier. We have a similar event planned at the Lincoln Christian Church on September 18th from 9:30 in the morning to 10:15 in the morning. It's a safety talk meet and greet. Policemen, firemen, ambulance service, sheriff's deputies have all been invited to bring some of our vehicles and talk to the children that attend that church about just general safety, safety around law enforcement, because a lot of times little kids are bedazzled by the lights and the sirens. But we want to share with them not to run up to a car on the street unless it's an event designed for that. So we're going to talk about that with them and then show them our cars, and hopefully everybody has a good time. Just a little community outreach. And then we have Dare slated to participate at the family movie night at the 8th Street Park on September 21st. I believe Ms. Metelko said the request was for an hour before the event, so we could provide some food and refreshments for the families and children that choose to attend. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there.
Anything else? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Parrott made the motion. Alderman Downs second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned at 6:55 p.m.